Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I am the badass Buddha. Oh my, Lori Monaco, coming to you from a beautiful Eastern Tennessee. And there we go. You know, Facebook started okay, and then, oh, goodness gracious. So give me a moment to fix this. I mean, at least if it's going to drop you off, like drop you off in the beginning so that I could have time to get it on before anything happens.
Now, why
But
would they do that? Why make life easy? Why make life easy?
I
Good
know,
morning,
but
mi gente. Aquí con la marca. Am I on?
you are on.
Okay.
You're
Oh.
on.
Oh, okay. Now we're on. Go ahead. Reintroduce yourselves because you
Well,
wasn't on
hello. Good
Viva.
morning. The badass Buddha coming to you from a beautiful, beautiful southern day from the south. And good morning, Lori Monaco, badass Buddha. Welcome, welcome. Good morning to Gail, the Empowering Process podcast. First one on this morning. And Desiree in the house. Go ahead, Gladiator Guru, your turn.
Yes. Good morning, my beautiful women. Cheerio, darling. Cheerio. Here I am con la Margarita, your gladiator guru. It is Thursday. It is the last day of February. No, love, 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 amor. And I'm so happy to be here this morning. Lack of sleep, tossed and turned. Didn't go to bed till 2:30 in the morning and tossed and turned till about 4. But you know
Aw.
what? Sometimes the less sleep gives you the most energy. And call me crazy, but I'm okay with that title. Lived it, learned it, I own it. Might have a little bags, but it's all good. And here we are, gonna talk about
I always
leaping
have
to your
bags.
purpose.
I always
Well,
have
I do.
bags. It is part of my DNA and my family. All of us do, and it's all inherited from my dad. Like all of us, like those of us that have my dad, even my nieces and nephews, have what we deem as the dead eyes. But I'm okay with that. It's just some days it's worse than others. So, um, and thank you, Gail, for being on both Facebook. We appreciate that. So, I actually thought that people would be on faster this morning because of the fact that today is a leap year. And so happy leap year. We get this every 4 years, right? It's every four, right? It's every four. It's not seven.
I never
And
pay attention.
I think it's every four. And then we're going to be talking about leaping to your purpose, and we're going to be talking about The Alchemist. So hopefully you brought your book. We are wanting you to have your book with you. Yeah, thanks, Gail. Every four. Good morning, Kathy. Kathy is in the house as well off of Facebook. We appreciate that. Madeline is here. Good morning, Madeline. So hopefully everybody has their books. Migdalia's here. Good morning. If you don't have your book with you, please get it. If you didn't finish it, oh, shame on you. We've been telling you all month. But if you didn't finish it, please finish it. But hopefully you did, because we're probably going to have some spoiler alerts, because we're planning to talk about it this morning because it is so important with regards to um, life. It's such a great little story. It's simple, and it's just beautiful. There's a lot of really good nuggets in such a simple story. It's not like you have to buy one of these really fat books and it's taking forever to read. This is something that's simple, and I think it allows you to read it more than once. Like read it, and you can literally reread it again as soon as you're done. So, good morning, Tiffany. All right. So, shall we do the set the intention, do the mantra? What are your thoughts,
Yeah,
Gladiator?
absolutely. I'm
Okay.
just sharing the show.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. Here we go. The intention. Let's set it. Hey, we're talking about purpose today. So, be intentional, be purposeful with your day. Decide what that will be, set it into motion, say it out loud or write it down, say it to yourself, but have that drive behind it, have intent behind what you do today.
Yes, do it on purpose and do it with gratitude.
Mm,
That's
yep.
it. Do it. Do it in gratitude. Do it on purpose. If you're going to do anything, you have to do it on purpose. And to get through, because what's good for you is never easy, make sure you're smiling. Be grateful that you can go through it, that you can push through the pain. Because there is that rainbow at the end of it when you intentionally do something with gratitude.
Amen. All right. Let's say the mantra. Get ready and say it loud and say it proud. I am a disruptor.
I am a disruptor.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am spiritually grounded. Hum,
I am
hum.
magically orgasmic.
Ole,
And I keep it real.
or day, no doubt.
All right, everyone. So today is, so I see Kathy wrote, I had two dreams about the book right after I read it. LOL, same thing in both dreams. That's very cool. I don't think I had dreams about it, but it definitely was something that I remember I actually realized I read it 4 times. I read it the first time, I think it was back in either the end of 2020 or the beginning of 2021. And I think it was the end of 2020. I read it and then I immediately read it again, like a week later. And then I waited and then I read it again 6 months later. And I haven't read it since we decided to read it this go around. And I wanted to read it one more time. I gave it to my middle daughter to read after I had read it, and she was taking freaking forever, which really annoyed me because it's not a long book. And I even asked her last night, I'm like, so can I have the book back for the show? Did you finish it? Oh, I'm almost done. And I'm like, man, you can put this book out in like a weekend. And it's dumbfounding to me because she really doesn't have much else to do. So I was just like, all right, whatever. I said, but you got to finish it because it's important for you to read it, especially for her with
Mm-hmm.
all the changes that are coming up for her. So, what do you want to do? How do you want to start this, Guru?
Well, leaping to your purpose. Like, what does that even mean? Like, words can be so easily misconstrued. People add their own definitions to it, walking the wrong path and blaming the world. What is your purpose? Like, it's not lost, so you don't have to look for it. It's not something you find, it's something you live. So how many people can say that they're going to leap into the purpose they know they were born to? Like, that's what this is about. Like, um what's my purpose? It's to live every single day, just to live every single day, and acknowledge whatever mood I'm in, and then identify, is this conducive to my spirit or not? Because when I used to get mad, I got mad, but now it's like, why am I even? No, I'm gonna let this go, or I'm gonna sit it right here, but I would acknowledge it. That's where I'm at right now. So that I can identify my assignment, because we're all born with an assignment, right? We're all born with a purpose. And just like in The Alchemist, it talks a lot about what's your legend, seeking your legend. Because sometimes I think your purpose is your intuition that leads you somewhere, but then you've lived so long unfucking your thoughts that you're following the lead of everybody else, or not doing what your intuition, what your gut is telling you to do for fear of the naysayers, right? Or how they're going to think, or this or that. Because many of us have been guilty of worrying about how people are going to view us in doing what we do. Um, so you have to walk in your assignment in this lifetime, and walking in my purpose, leaping forward always, hesitating because the self-sabotageness in all of us is real. That's a real monster. Some
Yes, it
people say,
is.
"Oh, the monsters aren't real." That bitch is fucking real, and it will scare the shit out of you in a moment. Then you have to learn how to maneuver it to cast it out. And then all the steps you will take in your life, they need to be taken forward, not in place. You're here today, but you don't keep taking the The place, because today turns into tomorrow, and guess what we do? Tomorrow comes and we're still looking back into today and leaping into my legacy, because I want to be the legend in my grandchildren's stories.
Mm, I like that. I like that you didn't just leave it at I want to be the legend in my own life. You said I want to be the legend in my
And
grandchildren's
my
stories.
grandkid and my grandchildren's stories, because storytellers are in my family, and I'm a storyteller. And if you listen, there's to my grandkids, they're all storytellers, and so what I pass down to them, then I want them to tell stories of what they of the seeds I planted that they've cultivated in their lifetime. But that seed had to arrive there somehow. And I'm that wind that blew it into their garden. So I need them to learn the cultivation of that. And they might not get what I speak of now, but they will going forward, because like in what I write about my dad, El jardinero de mis raíces, the gardener of my roots, I talk about how he planted seeds in us when we were young or stupid, and it didn't hit us until years after he died. Like, oh shit, this is what Papi was telling us. So I know things aren't going to grow and blossom and bloom because I said so. So that's where the legend comes in. Hola, milagritos. What did Madeline say? If you live with intention, then you see and experience the fullness of your life. But if you exist in your life like a leaf and allow it to blow you around like the wind, then you feel surprised by what happens.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. Really beautifully said. It's the truth. I how many years I was blowing like a leaf. I would set an intention. It's funny. I went through so many years with all the education that I have had. I went through so many years never ever having that word intention cross my path. Isn't that interesting? Even with all the personal development I've done back then, it was self help. I don't ever really recall the word intention. It might have been, but right, we can only hear what we were ready to hear,
Yes.
but it never really hit me. And you know when it actually hit me, that word was from Carmen, misintention. It was Carmen when she kept saying it. I had to think about it. I actually had to look it up to see the exact definition. That's just kind of my thing. And I was in my head, I was just like, how did I like not? I mean, I had purpose down, like I had the definition of it down. Didn't mean I lived my purpose, but I always went into a direction. So there's a difference between solidifying, like in the book, his purpose became his life. Like he decided I have to do this. It became part of his psyche. Even when he had that little what looked like a detour when at the crystal shop, he still had, he got sidetracked. He became successful in what he was doing. He was helping that merchant become successful. But then the calling came to him, and thank goodness he heeded towards it. Like he decided, no, I have to do this. And that's the difference. The difference is that, we have an intention, we have a purpose, we start going down our path, we do get sidetracked. Sometimes it's a purposeful sidetrack. It's what we learn. And that stop for him at the crystal shop was purposeful. It had to happen. It was part of his journey. But sometimes we screw up by overstaying. We overstay our welcome. We overstay, we stopped here, but then we want to make this work. We have to make this work because this is going so well that we veer away from our overall purpose, our overall intention. Think back, not that we want to look at the past, but let's bring it home a little bit. How many things can you think of for when you were back in your like teens and 20s that you wanted to do with your life? Like the things that you said, I wanted to become, I wanted to see, I wanted to do, I wanted to experience. How many of those did you not do? Because life got in the way. You met somebody, you got married, you had kids, you were told that when you have these lives, you can't do these things. For once you forget it. Yeah, how many times have we heard that as women? Oh, well, forget it. Once you have kids, that's it. Like you're done. You can't do this and you can't do that. Kudos to the younger people and even the people that are my age that did it anyway when they were younger, who just said, I'm not going to go by that. Like my niece and nephew, they live in California. They have a little boy. They had a baby that was not even a year old yet. And there's no doubt in my mind that these two will just travel. Like they traveled to come to my oldest daughter's wedding in October when the child was like 3 months. They're like, whatever. They just go. They just pack what they need. They don't drag this whole bunch of stuff with them. They just in their head, if they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it. And now they just do it with baby in tow. There's nothing that they're looking at going, well, now we can't do that because we had a baby too soon or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the way we have to live. And if we're not living that way, if we haven't lived that way, there's still time. There's still time for you to do that. Because what we talked about on Tuesday was, remember what that Tony Robbins thing said? Picture yourself at 90 years old sitting on that rocking chair on the porch. Are you going to be telling stories of other people, or are you going to be telling your own stories? Or are you going to be saying, I wish I had done this, I could have done that? Or are you going to have the crowd around you listening to you? Gladiator Guru's grandkids with their children will be sitting there going, you got to listen to your great grandma, what she's going to say, because it's so cool, this story. This is such a cool story.
Well, yeah. See, I live my life carefree. I've always flowed. And it's weird because when I used to teach in 1998 at Career Resources, I used to have my students close their eyes and I would read the old lady, the 90-year-old lady on the rocking chair on her porch, and I would tell two stories with that. The life of regret, or her smiling there, just waiting for the doors of heaven to open because her job was done. And so you said Tony Robbins also shared that, which is good. That story is a beautiful story to share because it shakes you up. It rattles your ass. Like, which 90-year-old do I want to be? So I've always loved that story. And people got it. And I used to teach the welfare reform. So many of the women in my class never held a job because if they got a job, they would get kicked off of welfare, and then the
Mm.
insecurities, what they thought was lack of education. And so I taught life skills and the employability skills. I didn't care because I can teach anybody how to fill out an application, but if I didn't teach them the life skills, they wouldn't be able to keep that job. So many of them came back later on and said that had they not stuck it through, they wouldn't be owning their houses now. The joy they received in their first income tax ever, that, oh my God, I can get all this money back because I have kids and I work, and it paid off. And what I'm saying is, some of them lost all their benefits because they refused to come to class because they were too afraid to set the tone to go and take the bus to get a job or to go to work. They didn't know how to handle the work culture. One of my students ended up spitting in her manager's face because she didn't know how to use her words. So some of them found their purpose and they went on to have good positions like in Norwalk Hospital. Thinking of the one, she now owns 2, 3 family homes, single mom with her kids that are probably in college now. But some with that story, some will take it and be, fuck it. At least I'm 90 years old on a porch sitting in a rocking chair, and that's enough for people. You see, when you leap into your purpose, sometimes our purpose is to be that person who is just okay with surviving and reaching that age and sitting on a porch that's attached to the house that they've either lived in, inherited, or owned, no matter what's the situation it's in, and sitting in a rocking chair. And sometimes those are the people we pull from so that we can go and build the houses with the porches and the rocking chairs. You understand? So there's not that one's not good or that the other one is better. What it is we need to meet people where they're at. Our purpose are all they all differ. You're either the lighthouse man or you're the one out in the ocean on a yacht receiving the light in your life.
Well, and it's
and make
both. It's both. Like sometimes you are the beacon and sometimes you are the receiver of that light.
yeah, but there's people who are just a lighthouse person.
Yeah,
That is
that's what
their
I mean.
purpose in life. And
Oh,
then those who can't comprehend their position in this life feel lost. They're always out there. They're seeking. They're in depression because they have not listened to the whisper of where they're supposed to be. And if you don't want to only be the lighthouse guy, then build a garden around the lighthouse because sometimes they're very bare. We can add to where we're supposed to be. But where you're supposed to be is where you're supposed to be. When you can identify you're there, that is you leaping into your purpose because you're okay with the life and then you amplify what you have. You dance with what are they called? When you light them, they're like, shh. I forget what they're called.
sparklers.
Yes.
Sparklers.
Celebrate who you are and what's your position in life. And then you're leaping into your purpose with excitement. That will then open another door for you to go through. The doors are limitless what God can do for you. But you got to be willing to walk up to the door. And if you acknowledge, well, this is my purpose, this is the season of my life, this is my assignment, and you complete it, and then you walk towards the door, and there's always something better on the other side. But nothing good comes without a price. And that's why a lot of people fear leaping into their purpose. Is this not true,
Yep.
Laura?
Yep. Absolutely. In
What
fact,
have people written?
in fact,
Hmm.
if you go on, so I highlighted a bunch. I love highlighting in books. Not everybody agrees with that, but that's my thing. And so if starting with the beginning of The Alchemist, um, there's a couple of things that I highlighted. It says, he was when the boy was talking when Santiago was talking to the old man, says it describes people's inability to choose their own personal legends, and it ends up saying that everyone believes the world's greatest lie. Skip to the next highlight. If this It's this, that at a certain point in our lives we lose control of what's happening to us and our lives become controlled by fate. And that goes with what Madeline was talking about, the fact that we maybe started off with a purpose, sometimes not even realizing it as children, because children are very purposeful driven. Well, they're not told to be that way. They just are, because they have to get up and walk. They have to start running. They have to start talking, because they know that that is a privilege. That is something that they can do as a human, and they'll do it. They just keep doing it. Nobody tells them not to. If you did, it wouldn't matter. You said, "Oh, you'll never get up and walk above." A kid would care less. They could care. They don't care anything that you're saying. But then somewhere along the line, we become that leaf. We start deciding that, oh, well, it's fate. It's my destiny. That, I'm throwing it up to, there's a difference in trusting in the process, throwing your hands up and trusting in the process, having faith and trusting in God or whatever is in your practice. There's a difference. You don't just willy-nilly things. We were given the gift of free will. We make decisions on our own. And I've seen it coming up because Madeline's on fire this morning, by the way. She is popping out that stuff. Gail, of course, is always on fire, and Kathy's throwing out stuff as well. So you guys, it's wonderful, ladies. But it's about personal responsibility. I think both of you had said that he takes personal responsibility with his stuff. He writes, another highlight, it's what you have always wanted to accomplish. Everyone, when they are young, knows what their personal legend is. Right? That's what I was just saying. At that point in their lives, everything is clear and everything is possible. They are not afraid to dream and to yearn for everything that they would like to see happen to them in their lives. But as time passes, a mysterious force begins to convince them that it will be impossible for them to realize their personal legend. And he asks, mysterious force, it's a force that appears to be negative, but actually shows you how to realize your personal legend. It pairs your spirit and your will, because there is one great truth on this planet. Whoever you are or whatever it is that you do, when you really want something, it's because that desire originated in the soul of the universe, and it's your mission on earth. When we put it in those terms, doesn't it make you feel almost, and I'm using this term very carefully, it almost makes you feel guilty not doing it. I don't like feeling guilty. That's not what I mean. What I mean is it's puts it into a perspective to say, I am supposed to be doing this. What the hell is wrong with me that I'm not? Like, what got in the way? Was it fear? Was it somebody planting seeds to say you aren't good enough? All of the above. So, at what point do we finally say, I'm not believing that BS anymore? I'm not going to believe that story in my head. I'm not going to believe the story that I was told. You'll never amount to anything. How many of us were told that? You're not as smart as this person. You won't ever make that much money. You'll never be able to do that because you're just not made that way. And we bought it. We believed it, and then we made it our story.
Well, yeah, I think the book itself is mm, you got to be careful what you compare it to. Like, I believe that it's purposeful, as we all can agree. Madeline, though we travel the world over, we cannot find it unless we carry it within. Yes, because, and it's exactly what where I'm the same thing. The alchemist is throughout is that we are never bigger than God's purpose. And that's what you learn when he meets Melchizedek, I can't even say the name, the king of Salem. That's what he learned in that moment. Because was he an angel? Was he God? Who was he with the chest plate of gold? That man, that man in the book was so pivotal. He played such a pivotal role in it, and we forget. So I think that when we are faced with a difficult thing, we have to sit with ourselves. You have to sit in your peace. You have to sit in your confusion because you're really sitting in your peace. It's about flipping the bitch in those two words, confusion or peace. What are you going to choose? I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I can't make a decision. And then you're going to sit down. Are you going to stay just in that sense? Are you going to sit down and breathe and breathe? That's you sitting in your peace. So you get to choose. Are you sitting in your chaos or are you sitting in your peace?
Yes. And how long are we sitting? Because
And
when you sit with your peace, you know when to get up. That's the beauty. When you sit in your chaos, you could sit there for years and not realize years passed because you're not paying attention, but sitting in your peace allows you to know when it's officially done.
my kids, soon to be 38 and 34, will tell you, even now, when they're going through something, but they'll tell you since they were little, they were only allowed to have a drama filled day, a trauma filled day, a chaos filled day, whatever kind of negative day, 24 hours. After that, I don't want to hear about it. We're going to move forward. 24 hours to sit down and have a pity party. That's what we called it. And that allows them, just like when the alchemist went and met the merchant, he gave himself 1 year to save and acquire the money he needed to then move forward. And within that year, he stood there, he watched, he observed the merchant, the kindness of the merchant. He never took anything for granted, but he observed all the comings, the happenings. He observed the people at the bottom of the hill looking up like, is it worth me walking up there? And then he came up with the genius idea.
Yeah.
The fear of success is real in whatever era, whatever decade you're living in, whatever century. The fear of success is real. We self sabotage. We hold ourselves back in the safety net
Yeah.
because what if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
But what if it does? So the alchemist gave himself a time period. So you have to allow yourself time to sit and evaluate, reevaluate, visualize, like lay out the plans in front of you and see what's my next step. What should I eliminate? You can only do that for yourself, but you have to do something because it does go. Because, Paulo Coelho was in a lot of, he was a hippie. So he dabbled in a lot of spirituality. And in spirituality, it wasn't always the path. When you think of spirituality, halos and wings. So he traveled, and that's why I think I respect him, because he dabbled as he traveled, and
Dabbled
he
as he
learned,
traveled.
and he fought demons, and he confronted the monsters, and then he walked the path of peace. And so he did. It's not only biblical, it's not only about God, it's not only about angels, it's about the spirituality, what we come from, spirit of the different realms. And if you read the book, you can almost feel when he's talking about the mythical magic, when he's talking about the heavenly touch, when he's talking about the demonic views. And especially when he was walking up Fonte Badon, and he saw the wild dog. Oh, that's in the Pilgrim. I'm sorry. I love all his books that I'm crisscrossing. So if you really want to get to know Paolo more, read The Pilgrim, which is his first book ever written before The Alchemist. And so yeah, it's all about what he's experienced and how he goes through it. But you know, Santiago, I love Santiago. I could almost visualize Santiago. Like I would follow Santiago anywhere. That's how much I love The Alchemist. And I would, and just to meet, and my favorite part of the book is when he spoke to the wind, and then the sun answered, and then all of these, he's speaking to the elements of the world. Then he realized nobody really knows everything.
Yeah.
We must take the leap of faith in knowing that we will do the right thing when the time comes. And Gail, you're absolutely right. The alchemist did take, when he gave all the money, Santiago's money, when they were captured in the desert, and then say, well, he speaks to the wind, he turns into the wind. That was having, that was telling Santiago, believe in you, believe in the part of you that I already know. See, that spirituality is what touches, and it's what makes you think. And the more you read The Alchemist, the better you will understand who you are, even if it's a book of fiction. How do we know it's a book of fiction? What if a spirit took over? And that's what he said. He wrote The Alchemist in 2 days because he said the book was already written in his soul.
Yeah.
So you, who are we to doubt what our capabilities are and not walk gracefully into our purpose because of the self-doubt that we have imposed upon ourselves? I can tell you you're stupid, but unless you believe you're stupid, it's going to roll off your shoulders, right? So you can't, people can say and do whatever they want. It's how you receive it, what you accept. And I think that's what the whole part of that, leaping into your future. Let me tell you, when he lost all his money in Tangiers, he was very upset, right? He had to lose in order to win. And
Right.
that's what we had on one of our shows, that in order for you to receive, you have to organize to eliminate. Because if you're walking like this, you can't receive anything. So he had to lose everything to find himself. And that's what I got out of it. I don't know if anybody else did. But I'd love to read some of these comments.
No,
See, I get
there's just so
excited.
many. I mean, there's so
And
many. There's so,
I was unable to read the book this time because I have 4 of them at home and I refused to buy a new one and I couldn't find none at the thrift shop. But as we're talking about it, it's all coming alive in my mind, and you see I'm getting excited to go on.
there's so many nuggets in this. Like even the fact that it's not just Santiago has his path he's going, but then when he does meet the glass merchant, the crystal merchant. I guess I'm partial to the crystal merchant because, like I said, I'm reading it going, oh my God, I'm the crystal merchant. But he also, his path affected somebody else's path. And that's the beauty of it too, is that sometimes people are put into our lives. So we also have to, not only, we have to be very, this is, I guess, one of the most challenging things is to be able to stay on our path, to keep going forward with what we're creating, but also let other people in. There are going to be people that are going to help us. There will be people that'll try to sideline us because there's always going to be those individuals put in. The question is, do we let them? Do we let them distract us? Do we let them sideline us like when he got robbed? The crystal merchant was, there was something intriguing enough about Santiago to say, I want to offer him a job. Like, I'm like, this was a man who really gave up on his dream. Like, he had success. He was happy that he had the success. It dwindled down. He just figured that's just the way it's going to work. And this boy rekindled it for him, and he taught him how to like look outside the box. We sometimes need that renewal. We get stalemated, we get stuck, and then it takes some person to come in with a new idea, or just to rekindle that fire in our bellies that has just become a pilot light now. Before, it was like a big burning flame when we were younger. We could do anything, we could go anywhere, we're indestructible. And then all of a sudden life just sort of pulls us down and says, no, you have to be careful about this, and you have to make money to do this, and you have to prepare for this. And all of a sudden all these rules come in, instead of us saying, well, but I really wanted to do this. Oh no, but you can't, because you have this responsibility, you have that. And little by little the flame just goes lower and lower until it's just this little bitty pilot light. And when the light goes out, we're dead. That's when the light goes out. When the light goes out, you're either dead or you are in such a state of massive depression that you can't even get yourself out of bed. But even then, I still think the light's there. It's just very low. But we have to be each other's assistants, not like every single person. You're not going to, it's who you come to on your journey.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not also providing the light for other people, as you're shining your light bright. If they're not going to suck your energy away, and I think that they could, but I really believe that if we really are purposeful, if we really feel where we're being driven to, and we are guided by God, higher power, whatever's in your practice, but if you have faith and you are trusting in that process, those that come around you, you will be a guiding light and inspiration to other people. And somewhere down the line, they may even loop back to you and be able to help you in a way that you never thought possible. That's why every
Correct.
single person has a reason in your life. We can't just write people off. We can't assume that the bum on the street is just a bum on the street, and what are they going to do for me? It's, I have to look at the people that are making all this money because I want to make a lot of money. I have to be around those people. No, because maybe you sat down and shared a sandwich with that person on the street, and you found out that this individual was a major whatever, and they just really made some bad choices. That's where they were, but they still had these pearls of wisdom. And you take it, and you go, oh my goodness, this is incredible, because you never know where it's going to come from. So when we get into our headspace and judge and say, well, they can't possibly help me, blah blah blah, keep your beacon on. The people that are going to assist you will be right next to you. They'll present
Mm-hmm.
themselves, and then you assist them in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I think I've never believed I've met people, and it always turned me off when they would only follow you if you had X amount of followers. They would only consider collaborating or even accepting your friend request if you had X amount of people. And let me tell you, there could be some good videos I want to click on YouTube, but the minute they're like, and you read what it is, and I'm like, okay, let me listen to this. And the first thing they say was, welcome to my page. Before we get started, down there, click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and blah blah. And that's all fine and dandy, but sometimes tell me that at the end or something. Go into what is your message. Tell me what the message you're supposed to come out there. And that's just been me. And that goes with people. I'll sit
Is that
anywhere and talk
appropriate?
to
Could we put that on now?
what.
Like,
So it's like and you look at people and they how they snub the homeless or and like I told you when I was in Spain, I think I would invite them to sit with me at the cafes. Expedi. And one guy like was totally out of it, but he ate the churros. I ordered him coffee. The women who would didn't want to sit, but they would ask. And you know why? Because it's not even something that I need to say. What I'm saying is that is our purpose, is to be of service. And who are we to judge someone because they're dirtier than what we are, or they're not wearing the type of clothes we have, or why did that they must have been lazy or something, and that's why they lost everything out on the street. Discernment. We must use discernment.
Right. You
And
really know their
like
story.
with the crystal merchant taking the risk. And the thing is, when we self sabotage like the merchant did, this is what I got out of it. Although he was afraid to even think of a new way to get people up the hill into his store, he still taught Santiago valuable lessons. You know, when they say when you can't do, teach, and he is exactly what that quote is about. So he taught, Santiago learned a lot from him. And in that, whether it was just pure kindness, and then Santiago was observing everything that's happening and came up. And then that idea was born, or not that it was born, but it was given birth to, it was spoken about, and then it took place. And they all were very happy with the outcome, right? So you have to teach. Even while you're afraid, you teach. You don't impose your fears on other people. You're like, yeah, the other day I had a
And yet people do.
conversation on Monday, and I was like, I prolonged doing something. I was self sabotaging because of commitment. Like, I don't like commitment. And anytime I find myself doing something that I'm going to have to commit to, like 6 months or longer, that's like, oh my God, I can't. It's like devastating. It's like a lover left me. Just the idea of commitment like that, like long term. Here I am 55 and I still have that. And then I did it. And it was the most rewarding thing for me. It was like, I'm very excited. And so Paulo Coelho talks a lot about the elixir of life. I love that. Just that, the elixir of life. Like to start a conversation at a cocktail party or around people you don't know, and you just start talking about the elixir of life. Woo! You get people's attention. Know what the fuck you're talking about, though, but it does. You know, and I think everything has a mission, everything is a lesson in his book. Like he goes to the desert, Al Fayoum, and he meets Fatima. Fatima's this beautiful, kind-hearted, you know, halo light in the back, walking type of chick that Santiago falls in love with. So if you go back to that culture, that religion they're talking about, who is Fatima? Fatima, the Hamsa hand, was named after Fatima, who happens to be the daughter of Muhammad, who is the prophet in the Quran. So, I mean, the book goes deeper than what you can imagine, than just the surface of how we read it and what we gather from it. It's really a deep read. So, the Hamsa hand, who doesn't love the Hamsa hand? And if you've studied the Hamsa hand, you know it was named after Fatima. And then you learn that Fatima is the daughter of Muhammad. And then it's just a never ending how when you reach and you're in that purpose, you're like, oh my God, this is where my ancestors are. My spirit, my soul belong to this lifetime. And I'm here in this century. And I'm still finding my way back home bit by bit. And that's how I connect myself with people, places, and things. What did they teach you? To listen to your heart, the soul of the world. You know, there was a tea shop in Black Rock named that, and I just loved it. And what does that mean? The soul of the world is, when you want something, you speak it out, and the universe conspires to help you achieve it. So the lessons that you need to learn are different. Lori's going to get something out of this book that I may not see because it's not for me. So there's no wrong way of reading The Alchemist. But when you do read it, that you receive something from it, that you got something out of it, that you can associate your spirit with it, then that was the purpose of you reading. That was your legacy in reading The Alchemist. Do you know what I'm talking about? Badass?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not that you didn't understand it. Oh, I didn't get that part. It wasn't meant for you to read it. Get it when you read it, and by show of hands, or me, or how many people was this the first time you reading The Alchemist?
Yeah, put that in the comments because that's an important consideration. Gladiator Guru's read this book numerous times. I've read it a few times now, and you get something different because you are a different person.
Yes.
And I started with yellow highlight the first time I read it, and I switched to orange highlight. And the cool thing about it was when I looked at the yellow highlight, I was intrigued by what I thought was very interesting. And then I highlighted the orange because this is interesting to me now. Like I highlighted on this one page, it says, he realized that he had to choose between thinking of himself as the poor victim of a thief and as an adventurer in a quest of his treasure. And when I scrolled down in yellow, that was orange. And then in yellow, I put, he had not a cent in his pocket, but he had faith. He decided the night before that he would be as much an adventurer as the ones he had admired in the books. So he didn't look at hey, you know what? I'm screwed. Like I've just got to figure out how to get back out of here. I I'm going to continue on. I've got to figure this out. I'm resourceful. I'm resilient, and that's the thing is we are all built that way. We're all built the same way. So why is it that some people have immense amount of success? We're not just talking about financial success. We're talking about success in their lives in general. They're just abundant. They're happy. They love who their partners are. Their children are flourishing. They do have money to be able to travel and do things. Why are they just lucky? Or did they just, now granted, we could meet people that sometimes I've said that. I'm just like, wow, like, and again, it's a judgment, but looking at them, getting to know them and going, I've met so many wonderful people and these people are kind of not nice people. And yet they have all of this, so are they deserving of it? Who am I to say? It's my thought. But those that deserve it, if they're not having it, why? Because we're all given the tools. We might not all start in the same spot. Some people do start lower because they are brought into this world in very bad circumstances. There's others that are brought in this world with very great circumstances, and they have opportunities a lot more than anybody else. And yet some of those people do nothing, and there's people that have had the most minimal opportunity and they find their way out. What's the difference? The difference is that they decided that their purpose was to get out, to flourish, to do this, to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the other ones decided, well, I don't have to try so hard. It'll be handed to me. I'm not worried about it because I'll get help. No responsibility. They don't take on, they rely on others, where these other people say, you know what, if I'm going to do this, the only person that's going to be able to do this is me. I'm the only one that's going to be able to do this. If I want to change my life, it is up to me. That's not saying other people don't show up, like we've talked about already. They don't show up to give you a different perspective. It might not be the one you want, but it's that observation. Hey, that really does work for me. Hey, you know what? That doesn't work for me. But be grateful for having been given the gift of that information. Even if it's not great information or that it's not useful to you, it's useful no matter what. What I mean is that it's not the direction I would want to go, but I'm glad I experienced it because it solidifies for me the direction that I don't want to go. So what do I need to do to focus on the direction that I do want to go? When you were talking about Fatima, think about it this way. He stayed in that city with the crystal merchant working for a year. And what did he learn to do? He learned how to speak another language. If he had just gone, if everything worked out and he stopped at that desert town and he met Fatima, he would have never been able to communicate with her because he couldn't speak the language. So it would have just been this beautiful woman that he just went by and then he continued on. But he didn't. Everything that happened to him was purposeful. He went to nothing to realize that I number one, I don't want to be this way, but number two, I can figure out how to get out of this. And I'm not going to sit there and just plop down on the ground and go, I'm a victim. I've got to get out of here. I'm going to beg for money to get back to where I came from and try to get my sheep back. This was to say, I'm learning. And the one other thing before I stop talking, the one other thing that I want to really emphasize is he also, this is what was really powerful for me. I mean, there's so many powerful pieces. He made promises. There were people that helped him and they asked something of him. And he didn't just say, yeah, yeah, thanks for the information. And he left them and that was it. He made good on his promises. He went back and gave the old woman the money, and he gave the sheep in the beginning. He sold the sheep to the man, the old man. And that's the important piece too. Sometimes we get onto these, we travel and we do find our personal legend. We do create that, but then we forget about all the people along the way that helped us get there. We don't acknowledge them. We pretend they don't even exist anymore. It's like as if Santiago left and then said, "Screw you! I don't even." And he walked by the crystal merchant to act like he didn't even know who he was. But that wasn't who he was. He wouldn't do that. And that's another piece of it too, is that we have to acknowledge the people along the way. We may never see those people again. But if
No.
we do, we have to acknowledge them because they were the ones that helped us get here. Even the crappy ones, even the
Well,
crappy, even the crappy ones.
well, of course, he had to get robbed in Tangiers to end up broke at the merchant to then acquire the richness that he did, which was incorporating another language, knowing how that culture functioned, how it differed from his in Andalusia in Spain, not losing faith because he was robbed in Tangiers. None of that. It is, you know what? Nobody is deserving of anything. And one of the things I despised after Eric died and after my mother died, and at first I didn't, I wanted to believe that, yeah, maybe I did deserve it because I did put my life on pause for X amount of time. And then it was an awakening that I don't deserve anything. Taking care of Eric was an assignment that was given to me by above. And I did the best I could with what I had with that. Pausing after he passed away, and everybody's like, oh, you deserve to be happy. I was happy. Maybe that, not the happy that people project you to be being a newlywed, but who deserves to have what he was born to have? The person who believes in himself and works for it. When you have what you have, it's because, and if it's not enough, it's because you set the limit to saying, well, this is as far as I want to go. This is as far as the universe has me to go. And again, it's people, places, and things around you. But Santiago didn't give up when he was robbed and had nothing. He met the merchant, worked. I mean, the idea started flowing through him, right? He learned of the elixir of life when then he left and met the Englishman with the books and all that. I mean, let me tell you, I can go through it, but our time is getting close. So I wanted to
Yeah.
share everything that you said, badass, on point, on point. Good morning, Ana Laura. And because the beauty is this, what I tell the badass all the time. The beauty of she and I is that we explain things differently, but it's the same thing. And where I'm mostly rough around the edges, she's very smooth when she speaks. And I honor that in her. I could
Oh,
never be that. I'm just who I am. But I honor that because I'm learning. I've learned to accept it because remember, when I was in survival mode all my life, everything was, if you wasn't strong, if you didn't face things, when you're being chased by those demons, how far are you going to run? Bitch, stop running, turn around and face them. That's the only way you're going to get over it. So it's not about explaining. If I say I'm going to do this, I'm not going to explain to you what I understand that, I don't mean it like this. I want to say this, that's not my gig and it's not my job. So when she comes in and she says something and then she explains it, I just look at her because I love that. Because it is not a quality that I own. And that's where you honor the next person. And we do have a great balance, Anita. And so when Kathy read the book and Gail read the book for the first time, because they're the only ones who came up, and Desiree, it's okay if you didn't finish it, Desiree.
Yeah, it is.
When although we're discussing it, when you read it, you're gonna read it and think of it in your perspective, because that book was written for each person who chooses to read it. You gain something, So look at what happened. He makes it to the pyramids. He's digging a hole. He gets his ass beat and robbed.
Yeah. You
And I'm
would think
sure
that at
for
the end,
you all had,
you would think that if this was a movie, it's like, oh my God, he got there. He got it.
yes,
Yep.
but then that's what we expect. Like, I can't believe this is happening. Oh no,
Yeah.
how are they going to put this ending? If he didn't get his ass beat and robbed, he would have never got the insight to go back to the sycamore tree. So when we think it's unfair how life is knocking us on our ass, how people are betraying us, how we're being talked about and stepped on and taken advantage of, get out of the woe is me. Get out of it, because that is teaching you a lesson. That is teaching you about the person, places, and things you are pouring your energy into. The same way, when something good happens, we're like, oh, thank you, God, the angels blessed me. Oh, I'm like, same thing when something bad happens. It's you're learning something. There's a lesson. Why is it only happening to you and I'm standing right next to you and it's not touching me? Because that was a lesson for you. So get out of your own way. You know what you deserve is to be awake.
Well, and
And Tamari's,
can I interject on something you said? You said, why is it that when something good happens, we say, thank you, God, and we're very grateful. And then when the bad happens, we usually throw our hands up and go, why? Like, why did you do this? Why don't we always just say thank you? That's why gratitude is so important. Say, thank you,
yes.
God, for this lesson. Thank you, God, for making me see this, because now I get to choose something differently. And just that, just flipping it and saying thank you. And listen, it's not saying that you don't have the right every so often to be like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm sure there might have been a time when Santiago was, and he just didn't write it. There might have been a time when Santiago's like, are you like, when he's laying there after he got his ass kicked, he's laying there going, are you kidding me? Like, what but that's human nature. It's just like I always say, it's like when Jesus was up on the cross and he was talking to God, and don't tell me it doesn't go a little bit longer than what they actually say in the Bible. He's like, come on, like, what am I
Well,
supposed to
he did.
do? Fair,
Why do
right?
you forsake me?
Right, but it was only like a simple question, and then God answered him. But it's like, you don't think he was weeping up there? You don't think he was angry? He was like, I can't believe this. That's natural. It's to have to look at the bigger picture. And that's the moment where it either makes us or breaks us. We either have to say, I can't do this anymore. And sometimes that's why it's important to also be very aware of your journey, because you need to sometimes have those people next to you. If I say to Gladiator Guru, I can't really do this anymore, she's not going to let me just not do it. She's going to be like, okay, well, I can't be around people like you anymore. I'll see you later. She'll be like, damn, get off your ass and we're going to do this. And you know what? Hold on to me, because just walk with me. Put your arm around me and walk with me.
Hmm.
That's the reality is that we people come into our lives to assist us. We're not meant to do this by ourselves. We're not meant to. There was nowhere in that Santiago did all that by himself. His fortitude kept him moving forward. That was him. But it was always somebody that was giving him information,
Always.
that was helping him, whether it was good information or the reality of this is what could be. This is how bad things can be. What are you going to do with that? There was always somebody that came in. And when we isolate ourselves and say, I don't need your help, I can do this on my own, or trust in the wrong people, we have to first trust in ourselves, and we have to
Well,
decide that this is my purpose. It's just one more thing. The back of the book of the 25th anniversary, the quote, to realize one's destiny is a person's only obligation.
that's
That's it.
it. You deserve what you put into it. We can all live the same life. We can all have seven figures. I'm a millionaire waiting to happen. On Tuesday, I brought up the bamboo toothpick that has the little knot. That bitch is rich because he decided to make a toothpick and tie a knot on it and then put it out for the olives to hope to be pinched to it. There's everything we have to live an abundant life. We clip our own wings. And you're right. We, it takes a village. I've always loved that quote. You will meet people that are going to stab you, and you are going to meet people that are going to clean your wounds. And it's going to happen throughout your lifetime because the more times you meet those backstabbing, hating people in your life, that's because you're not learning your lesson, boo boo. Because when you learn it, you can identify it before the person is in your personal space. That is living abundantly. It's not about money. Having success is not about owning things and having a big bank account. It is about walking in your truth all day without a doubt. You're not doubting your decisions. You're not doubting your choices because you are walking in your truth. And you're going to lose people and you're going to gain people and you're going to get kicked and then you're going to get lifted, and that is life. But you shouldn't stop interjecting or interacting because we do need people along the way to teach us and to grow with us. Not everybody can go into the VIP section of your life, but those nosebleed people help build the steps that you walked on. So always keep that in mind. And let me tell you before we leave, because I have grandma duty, something that was very pivotal because they mention it, and all we think about, right, is the abandoned church where he started his story. And throughout the thing, even when the guys were beating him up at the foot of the pyramids, what saved his life was that he mentioned the dream. And then one of the bandits shared his dream, which was a message for Santiago. When we choose to seclude ourselves, to hide, to turn our backs on people because it's uncomfortable, and then well, what did I do in my life? Why ain't I making this? I deserve this and I deserve that. You clipped your own wings again.
Yeah.
So he spoke and he learned that this guy was the one throughout his whole journey who had the answer to his question. Go back where you came from. Had he not mentioned his dream that he had to come to the pyramids, the guy who was about to kill him would have said, I have a stupid dream too. It's about an abandoned church and a sycamore tree. Santiago's like, oh shit, I gotta go. That's where I was supposed to be. He goes back and finds his
Bye.
treasure.
Bye.
But
See ya.
what is the sycamore tree? What is the sycamore tree that nobody really pays attention to? It is a symbol of protection, even from the earliest mention of human history. It is a miracle tree that people from all faiths visit to heal the mind, body, and soul. It's a reminder to to nurture all gifts that earth provides. I love trees. In my tree spirit animal and all that, I'm the elder. I love the trees. I love to talk to them. I love to hug them. We know this. But the sycamore tree, it's always something that they mention, but then we bypass because we're interested in Santiago. That's what we do in our lives. We skip what we consider to be not unnecessary information or an unnecessary sign. Bitch, if you got a pebble in your shoe, that means sit down. Sit down. Get off your feet. Take off. That means something is preventing you from reaching somewhere that could be dangerous, or you didn't finish this leg of the trip when you're already trying to leap forward into that. Pay attention. The alchemist to me means be aware. Pay attention of who you are. And let me tell you, it is a very difficult thing for me because it's me and my four personalities. We all have to figure out our love languages and how we do this and how we're reading a book.
It's a
And then
group
we sit
effort.
down. And, I have my own book club. I got Philomena, Isabella, La Gitana. I have Juanita that always wants to be fighting. So it's Learn yourself, learn who you are, learn what makes you click. And if you don't know, continue that soul searching because we all got it. And it's not anybody outside of us' fault why we couldn't do something. It's what you're choosing to do with your life, what you're choosing to let go that no longer serves you, and what are you opening your arms for to receive that has been waiting for you to unlock that door. It's always about you. If you have read, Anita, if you haven't read The Alchemist, siéntate and read it. And read it again, Kathy and Gail.
Even I know what
Read
that
it
means.
again. You're going to get something totally different because I've read it 9 times in different seasons of my life. And in different seasons of my life, I learned a very deep meaning of what was said that I bypassed on the last reading. That's how it is when you read her badass story. You could say, oh, I read the first one, I skimmed through it. No, go back and read those stories of empowerment, of growth, of tenacity from all the women in these books. Because guess what? Where you were when you read it the first time may not necessarily be where you are today. And that story is going to, like that firecracker up your ass, where it's going to make you feel like I wasn't the only one this happened to. So go love yourself, increase your vocabulary, read a book.
Hey, good morning, Bernie. All right. Well, that brings us to the end. Thank you, everybody. So, again, if you have not read this, please read it. It's an easy read and it's a powerful read. If you haven't finished it, by all means, finish it. But do, read it. It's really important. Come on, we're at the end of February, and let's make 2024 an amazing year for the entire tribe. Let's all walk together on our paths and boost each other up when we need it. For people like Desiree who really struggle sometimes to even get out of bed. I've been there, and I have my moments. I'll still be like that sometimes, but find your peace. The other day I had to prepare for a workshop and I just was in such a like blah mood. I opted to just sit on my bed in my bedroom and work on my workshop. And it ended up being the best choice of all because my bedroom is so pretty. And I opened up the windows and it was a nice day and it was windy and I heard the chimes and I heard the birds because it's already like spring birds are out here. And I just thought to myself, how lucky am I that I'm able to sit here and do this, that I could leave that room and then go into another room and create. So read the book. It's worth it all day long for you to read this book.
It is. You're worth
That's
it.
it.
And if you consider yourself to be worthy, then invest in yourself. And sometimes it's just, I thought it was a great piece of literature, even when I first read it, but the New York Times put it as a self help book. I think either way you view the book is what it's meant to be for you. And if you have read The Alchemist more than once, reach out and read his first one, The Pilgrimage. It talks about the Camino Santiago that I will be heading back on in May and his experience. He went on not because it was the Camino, he went searching for spirituality. And it ties into the Alchemist. This is why I'm suggesting this book. But write in the comments, send us private messaging if you want to express or need explanation about something of the Alchemist that really tugged at your heart. We're here for you. We suggested the book because it is Maktab. And if
That's
you read the
right.
book, you know what that means.
That's right.
Maktab. So send
All
us a
right.
personal message if you want. And let's keep discussing this. And I love you, Zoa, and everybody have a, go ahead. Do your
Have a
thing.
beautiful
Close
day.
out.
From the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente, remember to breathe in your beauty and breathe out your bullshit. Namaste.
Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.